have to go back to the Terrifier.
With the release of Terrifier 3 quickly approaching, there's no time like now to talk about what we need to see in the film. We'll start off simple with something everyone wants to know.
A lot of people would really like to hear from you after all this time.
As most of us understand, there's a large gap between the events of Terrifier and Terrifier 2, where Art and the Pale Girl are both missing for an entire year. And the plot details of Terrifier 3 have only served to complicate things even more, as this time around, Art's been laying low for 5 years instead of 1. Now, in my Terrifier timeline video, I speculated that the year's worth of time that Art was missing is when he killed Sienna and Jonathan's father, as well as when both the Alien segment and the Terrifier short film from All Hallows Eve take place. And while this is obvious conjecture, it's an extremely important topic, as the gaps in the timeline likely exist to obscure certain events that would otherwise spoil the overarching story of the franchise if they were revealed too early, which would seem to indicate that wherever Art goes and whatever he does during these gaps is key to understanding the mysteries of the Terrifier universe. Now, Damien Leone has stated that he doesn't want the franchise to overstay its welcome, which means that we'll likely never see Art prowling through space looking for Sienna and Jonathan. And while this is probably for the best, it also means that the Terrifier franchise is coming to an end sooner rather than later, which makes the third installment prime real estate for some big revelations, something Leone himself has teased about the film on more than one occasion.
And all these supernatural happenings, all these questions that were brought up in part 2 that have people scratching their heads, really explaining that to the audience is going to be fun.
And I really hope this includes where Art goes between massacres. Not just his body, but whatever's inside of him, whether it's a person or a demon or both. Because if any part of him is going where I think it is, then we're in for one hell of a ride. But we'll circle back to this, because for now, let's get to the gore. Now, it may seem like Art the Clown has covered just about everything in terms of violence since his initial debut. But there's still one type of massacre that he hasn't yet committed, and I'm just dying to witness it. You see, while Art is most definitely a serial killer, he's also technically a spree killer, meaning that he takes out numerous victims during short but vicious rampages, rather than taking a cooling off period between each kill. But there's one category of killer that Art just doesn't qualify for yet, and that is the category of mass murderer. Now, this could go one of two ways. The first way would be Art committing some kind of mass slaughter type kill, where he takes out a room full of people all at once. This could be something along the lines of the movie The Collector, where some kind of contraption is used to mow down an entire crowd. Or it could be like the acid scene from The Fall of the House of Usher, where a room full of partygoers are dissolved into a mass of human slush. And while I think we'd all be happy with a scenario like this, the problem is that it doesn't really fit Art the Clown's MO of getting up close and personal with his victims. We all know that Art really likes to get in there and get his hands dirty. Which brings us to the second option, the combination of a mass murder and a killing spree. This option would see Art committing a mass murder in a spree-like fashion. I'm thinking something along the lines of the subway scene from The Sadness, with equal parts brutality and agility from Art. And while it seems we're getting something like this during the scene in the mental hospital, which I'm super excited for, where I'd really like to see this happen is during the mall scene, or somewhere similar, where it's not just a confined space like a mental institution, but a large public place full of unsuspecting people. I mean, seriously, how awesome would it be seeing Art rampage through a mall, hacking and slashing his way through the crowd, and ruining Christmas for everyone? And let's be honest, Art has kind of earned a big mass kill like this. When everything is said and done and this is all over, Art's definitely going to hell. So he might as well go out with a bang, right? And while we're on the subject of hell, let's circle back and move into the final point. By now, we're all well aware of the religious symbolism and the biblical imagery in the films that feature Art the Clown. And judging by early reviews, which mention stigmata and the Virgin Mary, it seems that Terrifier 3 leans into this aspect even further. Which got me thinking about this scene from the trailer and who this creature is.
What would your own vision of hell look like?
I can't tell you that because it might actually be in Terrifier 2. But maybe drowning for eternity is pretty bad, okay? So that we've all experienced it, that horrifying moment where it's like you absolutely have to go to the surface, okay? But if you just can't and you're just stuck there and you're there for eternity, just having that panic is pretty bad.
All of these illusions and biblical notions have me thinking that we're building to something big. Which brings me back to this guy, who looks like he's forging some kind of weapon in hell. And with all of this imagery going on, it only makes sense to do an extended hell scene. Horror fans know that a truly good hell scene only comes around once in a burning moon. And when they do the job right, they end up becoming infamous. Fans of Event Horizon, Talk to Me, and the aforementioned The Burning Moon know exactly what I'm talking about. And while I can't show you even a quarter of what's in these hell scenes, especially the one from The Burning Moon, you get the idea. Now try to imagine a scene like this in a Terrifier film. The same concept, but with a couple $1 million for a budget and an absolute FX wizard guiding it all. An extended hell scene in a Terrifier film would undoubtedly go down as one of the sickest, most brutal things ever put to film. This could be Leone's magnum opus. And why wouldn't it lead to this? With all of the biblical imagery and the themes of good versus evil going on behind the scenes, what better place to culminate this series and the final showdown between Sienna and Art than in hell? And the best part is, the Terrifier franchise has always been and will always be unrated, which means that it could literally take us anywhere. But honestly, I don't really care if any of these things happen in Part 3, as long as they happen at some point in the series. But what do you guys think? Did I miss anything? And what do you want to see in Terrifier 3? Let me know somewhere at some point in the comments. Okay, peace.